Hey, today I want to talk to you about how to sell websites at a higher price using the doctor's method. And so, the doctor's method is a way of selling websites that will enable you to get higher prices so then you can grow your company faster. You can do less work because you're getting websites at a higher rate, and so you don't have to do as many websites, and you can just make more profit. So, my name's Marlon Marisha, I'm from Web Design Profit. And I would love to tell you today how I have been able to increase my prices using a sales technique I call the doctor's method. So let's get stuck into it. So if you look at my iPad here, you'll see that there are kind of three approaches to the doctor's method, or three things you have to get right. So if you want to sell websites at a higher price, the first thing you need to do is you need to diagnose. So the doctor's method is all about using a method that doctors use to, I guess, sell their services. And if you look at a doctor when you first speak to them, you sit down and they ask you a whole heap of questions to diagnose the problem. And you need to do the same thing for your clients. So a doctor will say, hey, when I press here, does it hurt? When you lift your arm, does it hurt? When you cough, what happens? It asks you a whole bunch of questions. And what they're trying to do is identify what the actual problem is. And when you go to sell a website to a client, they don't really need a website. No one really wants a website. It's a tool they think they have to achieve an outcome. And you've got to figure out what is the outcome. And a good doctor will make sure that they understand the problem before they prescribe a solution. So that's the first thing you need to do. But the next thing you need to do is articulate. So there's a great quote here by Wyatt Woodsmall, and he is a psychologist. And this is one of the greatest marketing quotes of all time. He says that when you can articulate another person's problem better than they can, they automatically and unconsciously credit you with knowing the solution. And so let me say that again. If you can describe someone's problem, articulate someone's problem better than they can describe it and articulate it, they'll think that you have the solution. And so when you're in this sales meeting with your client, after you diagnose the problem, the next thing you have to do is articulate the problem back to them. So you have to rephrase the problem that they've told you, and you need to say it back to them and say, hey, can I just confirm I've got this right? And in that process of you feeding back to them what they've told you, you're doing what Wyatt Woodsmall says you need to do, and that is you're describing their problem better than they can, but in their own words. So now they think that you have a solution that can help them. And the next step is to then prescribe. And you don't prescribe until you've diagnosed, you've articulated back to them, and then you prescribe. And a prescription is something most doctors give, and you never really question them. If they have described it, if they've diagnosed it properly, they've articulated back to you. When they say, hey, take this chemical, put it in your body and it'll heal you, none of us really question that. Maybe 5% do, and they get a second opinion, but most people don't. They're just like, thanks, doc. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I trust you. I've told you the problem, you told it back to me, and now I'm going to take this, I'm going to shove it in my body, and I'm going to get better. No questions asked. And that's really, if you want to have a situation with a client where they trust you, where they believe you have a solution, and when you prescribe your solution, which is your website service, if you want to be in that situation where they look at your prescription, which is your website, and they say, I need that. I'm going to run with that. Let's go ahead, and not question you about the price. Well, when was the last time you questioned a doctor about the price of the prescription? You just don't, because you say, well, that's the solution I need. Whatever it costs, I'm going to get it. And that's where you need to be with your clients, where you show them a solution or a prescription to their problem, and they say, well, that's what I need. I need it. I want it. I want to go ahead with it. Yes, maybe I can get it cheaper, but you know what? I could get it cheaper anywhere else, but I wouldn't have this solution that has been prescribed to me by this consultant. And I want to encourage you that if you are in the situation where your prices are getting pushed down, where there's a lot of competition that's kind of beating you up, and your clients don't see value in what you're doing, you need to take them through the doctor's method. Use the doctor's method during your sales process, and that's where you diagnose a problem, articulate back to the client what their problem is, and then prescribe them a solution. And that prescription should be your website. So if you struggle with sales and struggle with getting high prices, I want to encourage you to book in a scale session with me. It's a 15-minute call where we will basically go through this principle and some other principles around how you can get some quick wins in your business over the next 90 days. And so it's not a sales call, it's a call where we'll do a bit of work. I'll ask you lots of questions. And at the end of that, if you do want to work with me, then some of you will say, ask me in that call, and I'll book another meeting for that. But this meeting is not about sales. For me, it's about prescribing a solution for you after I ask you a whole bunch of questions. So thanks for listening. Use it. I guarantee you one of the easiest things to do is to increase your prices in web design. It's one of the easiest things to do if you use the right method. This is one of the techniques I use to do that. So use it. I look forward to speaking to you if you book in a scale session. Speak to you soon.